ever, and we will cover a few things, and then we will just fuck off. How was what was the occasion, or was it just that you needed to rebalance the world because you'd been on like a mentally nourishing and healthy like retreat away from things, so you decided that the best way was to come back and get drunk to balance the world?
I done far too much good for my men's mental health, and obviously it was entirely too wholesome, so we needed to come back and just get absolutely smashed. But no, it had been on the books for a while just because I've not been out for ages.
So you did go somewhere. I didn't want to hear the next thing that was depressing. Like, yes, so I stayed at home with Rufus and I just drank loads of wine.
You got pissed with the cats.
Which is also valid, to be honest, as well. Like, if someone just said I just stayed in with my cat and got drunk, I'd be like, pretty sweet.
Yeah, work. It would have been significantly cheaper to have done that, but it wouldn't have been half as much fun.
No. I went out yesterday as well for the second week in as many weeks to see I would say probably my core group of friends, the longest running group of friends. And we went to the South Bank in London. So we mooched. We're starting a heat wave, isn't it? So apparently for the next bit of time, some people I've heard say 2 weeks or
another one.
That seems exactly. Another one, but that seems like quite long.
Yeah,
I don't know if I believe the UK is capable of 2 weeks of unbroken heat wave, but I mean, could be wrong. But anyway, so it was sunny on the South Bank. It's quite cool on the South Bank, obviously.
South Bank, like cool temperature, or is that where cool people go?
It's cool as in cool.
Cool.
There's loads of cool dudes around there, and there's loads of like it's an interesting mix of all throughout smattered sort of like little like food cart type things that are like, you know, I went down there a bit earlier before then meeting my friend at London Bridge, and then we actually ended up coming back towards the South Bank, sort of past Blackfriars, and because I went to get pick up some bagels because a couple of weeks ago me and Connie went there because Utopia Bagels are doing a residency.
Oh, what a name!
Yes, but apparently they're a big deal in New York.
Oh, okay.
But they just down there's a truffle burger, which I don't know if there's more than one of those, but it appears as though maybe Truffle Burger, whoever runs that, has some sort of like connection to New York fast food establishments or whatever, and they keep seeming to get in like other businesses from New York to come over and do like a 3-month residency. So like before that there was a fried chicken shop, and so now there's this bagel place. But like I didn't really think about it because the first time we went, we was like, we just paid for the bagel. We'd gone there for the thing. We weren't really paying attention. Also, you're on the South Bank in London, so things are expensive anyway. But I bought like a sausage, egg and cheese bagel, and it's like £12.50. It's just like, oh my God. And then, so either which way. But they also would sell you just bagels. So, of course, Connie being a New Yorker, she loves a bagel. She's a bugger for a bagel, so we'd got some take. Yeah, we're different to buggering a bagel, which is another thing altogether. Which I suppose is altogether possible. Yeah,
and it does look a bit like a butthole. So.
Yeah, especially these like the New York ones, because they've kind of like during the baking process they've kind of like swollen and puckered, so they're like kind of they have a bit of texture to them as well. Anyway, not that I've stared into too many buttholes.
No,
but
considered.
Yeah, so I'm guessing. I might be shocked if I was to look into a real butthole.
Maybe it will come as a surprise.
So this is not like a bagel.
It's not like a bagel at all.
But you can buy them like just to take home, like any good bagel place. And so last time we got a packet of 5, but this time I went and bought 10. So when I then went out and spent the sort of the next sort of 3 or 4 hours with my friends, I was carrying around like a giant haul of bagels, which I then, as like any good foraging hunter, I brought them back to my partner, and they got sliced up and put into the freezer to preserve
How
them.
expensive is like an unadulterated Utopia bagel then?
£2 a bagel, which
That seems
I don't know if
reasonable.
I guess so. I mean, don't get me wrong. Can you buy like a
I
packet
mean,
of Warburton's bagels for £2?
yeah,
But
context
yeah, they're shit.
wise.
So
Yeah, quite.
so these are proper bagels. So I'm guessing that if I went to like Bagel Bake, like the proper old school Jewish place down Brick Lane, the infamous Bagel Bake, I'm assuming that you would get them at a much fairer price point, and you're paying for the fact that you're on the South Bank in the trendy part.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I was down there, and then it was just nice and sunny. Actually, to get there was all kinds of commotion yesterday because there was disruption on the Central Line, but there was also just general disruption in London in every sense of the word, because obviously the people were protesting for Palestine outside Parliament. Although I think I heard that there's like 500 of them outside Parliament, which it seems quite low considered that at times we've had like hundreds of thousands of people marching.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether I've misread a number, or is this a symptom of the fact that people were scared of getting fucking arrested by Keith's Gestapo. But
I guess sort of this far into the genocide, to have kept up protest momentum, to still have 500 people there is relatively impressive.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, funny, I called him Keith there. I watch this podcast from that guy, Beard Meets Food, who does like the eating challenges. And every time I watch it, I'm kind of like reminded of how people like me and you sort of exist in like a just different sphere of understanding, like not just about political stuff, but also just about sort of just, I don't know. I mean, I might just be talking about myself a bit more here, but being like quite online for, I guess, older people, but people in general, like so often people write in, they're talking about things, and I just think, like, you don't really know what you're talking about. You're like, you're not, but then most people don't know what they're talking about. But someone the other day,
fair enough.
They mentioned something. Someone mentioned Keir Starmer, and he said, or everyone seems to call him Keith when they want to take the piss out of him, and I don't really understand that. And I was like, okay. Like,
you can't really explain it.
It's like, what am I going to have to write in? It's like, yes, because they don't like, because he was named after like the Labour. Who's the Keir Hardy, exactly. And they don't want to, but like, anyway, I mean, because someone, obviously I'm an extraordinarily left-wing person watching this guy's content, and he leans, I would say, left. He's quite sort of, before he got into being a YouTuber and like making eating videos and stuff, he worked at some sort of like credit bank or something like that. And he's obviously, even though he's probably not gone all the way to like a left-wing political stance like us, he did understand and want to get out of that, and hated it because he just like, you know, like could see that it was inherently kind of like not very good, and kind of, you know, wasn't doing anyone any good, or least of all himself or society. But yeah, but every now and then someone, like, there are other people like me that watch this content, and he's like, someone wrote in and said, I'm paraphrasing here, but because when he eats his like big eating challenges, like man versus food stuff, he'll often ask for a Diet Coke or a Coke or something, because he's like washing at a certain point within these challenges, he needs like something else to cut the flavour of what he's been shoveling like massive piles into his mouth, and it's like to help kind of get it down. And so someone basically, some brave caring soul basically tried to comment on the videos and say, well, have you thought about changing the drink that you always have, bearing in mind like Coca-Cola's complicity in like genocide or whatever.
And an electoral
And
genocide,
it was easy. It was interesting seeing like sort of like normies react to that kind of news. It's just like a bit kind of bit put out and like just like I'm sorry, man. I like essentially I don't have time for this shit. I'm just a guy.
I'm just here to eat the big dinner.
I'm just a guy like living in the world, and I think that's quite informative to everything. Like that we are faced with, like, because we started this kind of conversation with you talking about being out with your friends, with me talking about going out with my friends, and I think like the two differences there is like a lot of my friends are right to centre. I don't know if you've got a lot of friends that are similar, or most of your group are more in tune with you. And
most of mine are sort of my side of the fence.
I have some, but not all. And so obviously it's something I think about quite a lot lately is this sort of, and especially this morning I was watching the latest Gary's economics video, and the first thing he was saying about like, the video was about how to argue, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but how to argue with other people about his arguments, the position that he's putting across. And the rule number one was like, don't be a dick. And it's about sort of like, generally the concept of like confrontation is not necessarily going to, solve anything. But then I also kind of thought about the fact that, like with my friends, it's like, so a good example is a couple of times, just casually, like many people do, and not in any kind of real sort of targeted sense, they use the R word to just sort of, and I get it. Like I've grown up in the same eras and places as them. There are some times.
Yeah, we were all on something awful at one point.
Yeah, I see some things happen. Like I'm watching Donald Trump, I'm watching someone like Farage or whatever, and some of these people say such colossally stupid things that I can feel myself wanting to say the R word inside, because it's just like it's almost like a reflexive thing, a conditioning from childhood. But I don't say it. But the point I was making to Connie this morning is like, the whole don't be a dick thing and confrontations. Like I can't confront my friends when they say it and go, oh, don't say that, because then it starts a thing. Like the best I could probably hope for would be that in conversation, if perhaps it ever came up and I just referred to it as the R word, and then they were like, what do you mean? And then I said, oh, I don't say that word because this community of people have essentially just made it clear that they do not like it. Just like black people said with the N word or whatever it is. And then make the case of like, I'm not telling any of you to stop using it. I'm just going to explain to you why I don't use it. And I feel like that's almost like the best we can kind of do in those, because you have to live with these people. These are my friends. These are, who I do love. Like there's, anyway, so it's something that's been on my mind a lot recently, because I've seen them, these groups of, one group with various members on each event. I've seen them a bit more than I have done usually, because usually I spend most of my time speaking to you, Ben, other people at work, my brother, other people who are broadly very, very left wing. And I know what I'm talking about. But I still, something was interesting is that obviously they're both, a lot of them are kind of capitalist, but not capitalist as in like, oh, I love capitalism. More capitalist as in because they just live in this system and this is the dominant system. So it's kind of like, in some ways, it's like, well, you are possibly living more in reality than I am.
Yeah,
because this is the reality. And so, but one of them, we was talking about sort of AI, because I was talking about the fact that, so we've talked about a lot that I've had the tab open on my Google Chrome for a barbering course in London. It's like a comprehensive one that's about $4,500, but it's like you can do it over weekends. It's like 18 weeks or something, and it's like basically from zero to job ready. And obviously I can't.
I bought another barber head the other day, actually.
Oh, did you? Yeah, see,
And
I need,
relay.
but I can't. I keep looking at it, and I'm like, I think like I will need to go to some course to give me the confidence to sort of want to do it. But
Yeah.
like, I, I can't just commit to like. I have $4,500. I have enough money, but like I can't. And technically, if I'm retraining for a job, but like, I'm still very unsure of whether that is actually what I want to do, or whether I want to put efforts into something else. I don't know. Like I always come back to thinking like, well, but that's not my skill set. I think I could probably do it and be good at it, but then I'd be in the same position as I am at work now, where it's like I know that there's some things I do good, and that I have a skill set that lends themselves to certain things, certain elements of consulting or discussing things, certain relationship management type things, that stuff, people interactions. But like, I don't know, we've known each other for a little while now. You've seen the output of things I do. I think like it's kind of clear that my actual talents do not lie in anything that I fucking do for the company that I work for. They reside in my ability to like fucking. It's like I was talking about that thing about the little chevron, like the icon, or whatever. It's like, give me 10 minutes, I'll give you fucking 4 iterations of something. Like,
Yeah, or significantly better.
Well, that yes. But like, do you know what I mean? But that's like that, and I've now got sort of. I mean, I know like we're jokes that we're gonna just kind of record Discord and just stick it straight up. But in general, like manipulating sound files, editing, video editing, art, design, pixel, all these things, which is like it comes back to sort of the whole thing of like, well, it's like. I mean, I could go and learn to cut hair. It would also be something good to have as a sort of like a side thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it leads me back to my big existential sort of crisis, which is, like I was talking to Connie over dinner the other day about this, and because obviously she's going to look for another job, like at some point maybe, where she can use her technical skills, and it was the concept of the fact that she can go to another job and use the skills that she's really good at. Whereas if I go to any other job, I'm still only ever going to be using skills that I've learned well, but they're not really, apart from maybe just being a person that can talk a lot and fill with silence and sort of get along with people, new people. So a bit of a social comedian. I can talk to the geezers. All the G's. I could talk to the geezers. I could talk to the gays, like whatever, and everyone in between.
Yeah, if you're in a subgroup that begins with a J.
Yeah, as long as I'm in that subject, geologists not so much, but yes, I think one of the things that really gets me down is that I won't because I can't go and get a job as like a graphic designer or something like this because they're going to want me to do certain things which I probably won't want to do, but that's fine. Because the thing is that if I got asked to do things I didn't really want to do that weren't as interesting to me, but because I am quite proficient in the use of like things like Photoshop and stuff like that, it takes me no effort to just knock something out. Like for instance, that example of 10 minutes, 4 iterations of a design, like ready to go. Then my life would be significantly easier sort of thing. But yeah, it's just this concept of like, I always come back to this thought of, am I ever going to make my living or be able to dedicate my life to doing something that I am actually kind of proficiently good at, rather than I can dedicate my life to something, but unfortunately, because of pesky capitalism, I am going to have to only dedicate like half of my time to it because the other half I've got to go and do something shit.
Then the other option is to ruin what you love by trying to monetize it.
Well, that is true as well, which, obviously I can always keep making sort of what I love, but yeah, so it's like, okay, so do I do a course in this? Because let's not forget the reason why I thought about that was because of the looming AI like apocalypse. Yeah. Which is like, you know, so what can I do that doesn't require a fucking AI? I'll cut people's
Computer.
hair. Exactly. But then at the same time, it's like, well, you know, do I just push on with like other things? Like, obviously, my YouTube channel is very close to getting that first level of like monetization. So it's like, okay. And then I already have technically like monetization on Twitch. It's like I keep meaning to like, should I sort of push into that a little bit more, like as combined thing of like, you know, this is where I actually do stuff, play games, create things, graphics, maybe even edit my videos on stream. And then also obviously then the finished product goes up on YouTube. Yeah, I just feel very kind of like very sort of unsure about everything, conflicted about everything. And the other day, I dragged my line manager into it as well by, I mean, two things. One, I told you already that I'd had that kind of like became part of like an unofficial anti-AI lobby group at work.
Yeah.
Which actually they've said that might be an idea to take forward for balance. So I may actually be part of the anti-AI lobby group. And then what was I going to say? Yeah, so that was already like a bit of a downer and a bit stressful going in front of like a higher up with a group of people to then like basically make the case as to why I think that this is AI is shit, but or shit for the company. So I was feeling in a pretty like bummed out mood about it anyway. And then also it's like, I'm not going to say that part of me wasn't like, I can't be bothered to go through the list of things about what targets have I hit this week? Did I get my to-do list done? So I know if I just start straight into a very philosophical and then that was the whole hour was taken up with me basically pontificating on like life and my place at the company.
You just don't give it room to breathe.
Don't let
and like then work and in the sides.
Yeah, and I apologise to him at the end. I said, like, I know that I assume, mate, that you do not have this with anyone else. I know that I am probably a challenge for you. And he just said that he basically is challenging, but he kind of appreciates me, I guess, also like respects me because he said you're a little bit older than me and you're so like sure on like resolute on like who you are and what you believe in.
Yeah.
And he says you know about a lot of things that I'd like to know more about and that I don't feel like I'm intelligent enough to know about. And I was like, look, intelligence has nothing to do with it. You just got to get pissed off enough that you can't stop thinking about it.
The angrier you get, the more you'll figure out.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, I guess I think I'm just feeling a bit as well because I know that there's I mean, I suppose if I looked at it objectively, it's probably not that many events in the calendar, but I have like quite a few little bits and pieces coming up over August and September. And it's a bit like, I think that just always makes me feel a bit sort of anxious in general. I mean, I
get sort of like crowds the brain slightly, doesn't it?
Well, because like balancing a calendar, because there's a part of me that's like, I feel like some people would squeeze someone in at every opportunity, whereas like I'm sort of like, well, I don't really want to have any more than 2 kind of like major things a week. Like if I go somewhere, then maybe in the week towards the other end of the week, I've got capacity for like an online 2-hour training session or something. But I don't really want to, you know. And I also was like, do the company expect me to be filling every day with all of this shit? Because I'm not doing that.
Yeah, because I won't start to. So,
because I got where do they expect me to do everything else as well? All the other kind of stupid shit. Where am I going to score people's like current system usage on nebulous, weird sort of like metric system.
Yeah, completely arbitrary scales.
I give you a C. Why? Because I don't know, vibes. Feels like you've been into it lately.
Top now, so it goes C, U, D, G and a half. There you go. So C is the best one now. I've decided.
Okay, cool.
I'm glad you came with me on that journey.
Yeah. So yeah, it's, I don't know. I mean, I am no stranger to existential crisis, to the point where
no, quite.
they're almost like, I don't want to say comforting, but like, you know where
Familiar.
you are. You know where you are with a good existential crisis. I mean, I suppose.
You know where you are when you don't know where you are.
I mean, could it? I mean, maybe I should look up the literal definition of existential, but like, is there anything in that term that suggests, you know, like an unknown? Because it's like, can it really be an existential crisis if I literally know what the problem is? Or is that not?
If you are questioning the reasons for existing,
yes, yeah, that's right.
How you exist and what you exist within, I think it all counts.
No, that's true. Yeah. Well, anyway, how was your retreat? What goes on
really good
at the retreat, or is it like Fight Club? That
Yeah.
the first rule is you don't talk about it.
Lots of meditation, obviously. So I, we.
The we, yes.
Yeah, pronouns and such. Get up at 6:15 for meditation that starts at 7 till 7:50-ish. And there's a little 10-minute break and a leg stretch. Then another 40 minutes of meditation. Then you're in silence till after breakfast. And then there's like a talk about Buddhist stuff. 3 sessions in the afternoon. And then in the evening, they have what they call puja, which is basically mass for Buddhists.
Right.
So it's like quite ritual, ceremonial kind of things. And then that happens until you're not on retreat anymore.
Okay.
Which is quite cool.
So, I mean, I guess that kind of, you're always sort of, you're either in reflection in your own mind because you've created this sort of silence. If you understand what I'm saying, you're kind of like, you're uninterrupted.
Yeah.
And also, so when you're not like, I guess, inwardly like reflecting because you're doing things or you're sitting or you're meditating, but you are like alone with yourself. And then when you're not like doing that, you're kind of like focused on a ritual. So it's these kind of, I'm picking up these two like key components of quiet reflection and having something to focus on. But is there no speaking at all at any point?
Oh yeah, the silence is sort of, it's mainly overnight, which makes it a little easier.
Right.
But they're like, it normally start talking again sort of probably about 8:30, 9-ish. So it's only for the mornings really that you are like in silence.
Right.
But it's quite nice. Like enforced shutting up.
Was it, I guess I'm trying to think of like things that maybe that I would do in my life that would be akin to it so that I can kind of understand. It's like, because I can't, I mean, obviously for me, I speak a lot. The thought of not speaking, I don't know. But obviously I do, I also like to spend a lot of time by myself. And obviously I don't just talk to myself like when I'm...
No, quite.
So I'm just wondering if there is something like, you know, maybe I'll be doing editing or I'll be playing a game, but I am alone with my own thoughts. Or maybe possibly it's more when I go out walking and I don't sometimes I don't want to have like music or a podcast on. I just walk with the sounds of the world around me.
That's quite meditative. There's a
Yeah.
cool, well, was a cool, it was sort of like from the Zen tradition, but kind of founded his own thing. But he was like very into walking meditation.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more specific for him, but yeah, walking can be quite meditative and reflective.
But I'm just trying to think of like more like times when I'm not engaged with something else that is occupying my mind,
Yeah.
and it's just my mind. Now,
Yeah.
when you're meditating as well, because the thing that we different here is that if I go out walking, it's meditative, but I am often thinking of things, ideas, what I'm going to do for something, this, that, or the other. So is that part almost going against the concept that you're trying to achieve there? Because is there something about, like, am I truly meditating if I'm thinking about things? Are you trying to put everything out of your mind and achieve a sort of state of, like, I'm just purely existing?
Yes and no.
Because
Which
I
is a
imagine it's
helpful
hard
concept.
for, I mean, I think at this point we could probably agree that I've probably definitely got some sort of ADHD, although I'm not properly like diagnosed, and I know that like you have as well. And I don't know, obviously everyone's mind works different, so I don't know whether though that familiarity that we have with our conditions with each other mean that our brains do sort of work in a slightly similar way. But is it hard for someone with ADHD, or to actually just like shut their mind up, like not to just think of, like, how can you not think of, like, I suppose other people would go like, oh, did I leave the washing machine on? I've got to do that when I get back. Whereas I might be thinking of like, well, what am I going to create next? Or like, how does, or is it less about achieving it and more about knowing that that's what you're aiming
Precisely.
for? Okay.
You'll never stop thinking about stuff.
Right.
Unless you like, I guess if you're like a super advanced meditator and like you've done it for years and whatnot, maybe they like maybe the super into it geezers might.
Or you've done
But
ketamine.
or you're
Or I don't know actually what's going on in your mind. You think you're not thinking of anything, but perhaps your brain like is going fucking berserk at that point.
maybe. But yeah, like the point is more to notice that you're thinking. I guess like the metaphor that often gets used is like your like pure consciousness beyond thought is like the sky, and then thoughts are like just clouds whipping around in it.
Right.
So you could like you notice the clouds, but you sort of let them come, let them go. Try not to sort of like push them away or get really engaged with them, and just kind of notice what your mind is doing rather than sort of being lost in the thoughts.
Right. So that's, okay. So like you're always going to have those clouds flowing around you, and you can't really. I mean, the analogy falls apart if you ever go to America and you look up in the sky. It's just like a giant blue.
Yeah.
There's no clouds, but like, you're. I guess the acceptance of you're always gonna, like, your brain cannot stop essentially like popping thoughts into your head. I suppose it's about like knowing that and just sort of, like you say, letting them kind of like flow over you, acknowledging them and then letting them go, rather than grabbing onto one and then starting down a path, which I suppose is that like a useful tool for people that overthink? Like, like when people start trying to think several steps ahead, start tangenting, like learning to just sort of like, I think what I'm trying to say is, can that method be used in a more, like, when you're not meditating, be used in a more active sense in order to, I guess, slow down, be more methodical with how you think about things, take things like
very
one
much so.
step at a time rather than getting too carried away with worst case scenarios. Oh, but what if they say this or that and the other? Just sort of, I don't know, more mindfulness towards your
Yeah. So like you are encouraged in Buddhism to try and bring mindfulness into everything that you're doing. So like the guy I mentioned before that does the walking meditation, Thich Nhat Hanh, he sort of like everything he did was about sort of being aware of what you're in, sort of like how your senses are responding to that, and like making whatever you are doing at any given point sort of the ultimate focus and the most important thing you're doing. So he talks about it with washing up a lot. It's like his go-to example, whereby like you're not washing up to try and get the washing up done. You are washing up to do the washing up, and you engage with it and sort of try and be aware of like the temperature of the water or like the textures of what you're holding and that kind of stuff, just to try and focus your attention a little more into the moment rather than sort of scattering out to what has happened or what you think might happen after you've done what you're doing.
I suppose I do think about this every now and then when I'm doing like the dusting, which is something I fucking hate, and I often like blow through it as quick as possible. But like I do often think that, well, you know, I often put a podcast on whilst I'm doing the dusting, so perhaps I should, in some ways, go towards that. I mean, sorry, it sounds like the Hell's Angels are just going past my window, but I don't know whether that'll pick up a microphone. I don't know, but fuck it. As who was the fucking evil dickhead? He's still alive, isn't he? Fuck it, we're doing it live. Who did the War on Christmas? The American.
Not a clue.
Oh God. If I have remembered his name, I think you would definitely have heard of him. I'm going to just type War on Christmas. I want to say his name is Bill. I'm going to put War on Christmas guy. Bill O'Reilly. He's like a conservative shock jock type. Well, not so. I suppose not shock jock, because the shock jocks are like your fella with a.
Stern.
Yes, he was more just a fucking Christian conservative blowhard, who especially like got quite angry about, like, you know, they're making you say happy holidays anyway. We don't need to get into that.
Yeah. But the Muslims are taking Christmas.
But we're doing it live.
Quite.
And yes, it's like, should I, like, and it's actually, like I said this in my Final Fantasy video, which, again, it's not doing very well. I don't know whether I just need to concentrate on positive things. Maybe hate doesn't, I mean, I don't not hate it, but like critique doesn't seem to serve me well.
Which is odd. Given the state.
I know. You'd think that would generate, you know. Anyway, I mean, but like I say, there's like the game needs to luxuriate in itself. And I didn't really explain that as well in my script. I think I left like a line out, which would have been integral. But I do explain about like, well, I think I was explaining over to you over message, but the point of like doing the washing up or doing the dusting would be, like I said, about like WoW Classic, an example. In Final Fantasy 14, one of my beefs with it was that, well, it gives me some story. So effectively it's supposed to be giving me the story, but it gives me some story, and then I find the next point on the map where the next person part of the story is. Very rarely it's like a place I've got to go and kill 10 of something and then go back to someone else. But otherwise, I go somewhere, I talk to someone, they let me complete the quest, they give me some more story, like in text boxes, and then the next step is to basically go to someone else and receive more text box story. And I can fast travel between them all, and it's just like, whereas like, well, Classic, as I was saying to you, was about, well, I've got to go and do the same thing. I have to go somewhere else, and someone else is going to give me a bit more of the story. Now, it's in World Classic, it's like they're more like little stories all across the different regions. There was probably one overarching thing, but that's part of what its like classic strength was, is that you exist in these world with all these little stories, and your quests are part of the stories. But when to do the next part of the quest, and I like the fact that you can always tie social, economic, philosophical things back to MMORPG design. But like, I have to go from one place to the other, and there isn't so much fast traveling. So I have to go on foot. And as I have to go on foot, I have to move through the world. I have to maybe go into a different zone, see the environment change, experience that as I go. Maybe I get pulled into little side missions, because in order for me to get to that place, I've got to defeat these monsters or find a way around them because I'm too low level or whatever it is. And it's like kind of, it becomes that thing of like the journey becoming like part of the sort of the process, becoming part of the thing. So like you're saying about the washing up, the temperature of the water, the feel of things, you know, that kind of like taking time to, like I guess, like I was just saying, like luxuriate in just what it is.
Yeah, the actual existence of the thing.
So it's like with the dusting, it's like, should I act like, rather than, I mean, I suppose also I'm trying to rush because it's probably like, oh, right, I want to get back to editing, or I want to do that, or I want to go out for a walk, or I want to do something else rather than doing this. But like, I always wonder, as I'm doing it, I always wonder, should I be taking a slightly more like meditative approach to the dusting, whereby
I would encourage mindful dusting.
Yeah, because like, you know, obviously I'm listening to a podcast or something, but like, that is nice little leisure time. I mean, there is a thing with the dusting, which is that I'm old and a bit fat, and like bending down sometimes hurts my back and stuff. So it's kind of like, I just want this to be done with. But you know, I do sometimes wonder about that. Is like, is that the true essence of like when we talk about things like, you know, enjoying the little things? Like, you know, I could just dust, listen to a podcast. It is quite chill, you know. And I think that's something that we don't do enough in life. But I also wonder whether, like, is that kind of how I generally live my life? Because I don't want to go out and do luxurious things or kind of like you know. But I do like little things. I do like being just comfortable and stuff. I guess I'm always pondering, like, I think you also. I'm always kind of quite amazed at sort of how close it seems as though I kind of understand Buddhism but through the lens of like just my own life, and just so what is it about my philosophy on life that kind of naturally sort of fits in with that?
Well, I've said before that I think you have quite a Buddhist approach to things, haven't you? Yes, quite.
But I mean,
much to consider.
I'm drinking a Monster Energy Absolute Zero drink in a moment, so I don't feel very Buddhist as I skull my can of Monster. But who are Buddhist? I wonder if there's no sugar in it, so it's just taurine and L-carnitine, which I don't know who the fuck that is. But yeah,
no, never heard of that.
But do you so why was the first time you went on that you didn't have quite the same experience? And do you think it was just that you'd done it before that made it a better experience now, or do you think it's something else in you has changed or shifted since the last time you did a retreat that has changed your outlook on it?
I guess it's a little from column A and a little from column B.
Yeah.
In that, the first one was, the first one. And I hadn't spent that long meditating or being in silence before. So it was kind of quite new to me. And I think now I've like whatever it is that meditation does to your brain and your grey matter and all that jazz. Sort of am able to enter into the spirit of things a little more readily. And I think the fact that the place that I was isn't new to me now means that I'm less distracted by the novelty of it all.
Yeah. This is another question that's taken, because like I tend to think that things like maybe Buddhism and yoga and some things that are seen as a bit more woo in certain circles have actually a lot of parallels with science, but we're just using different words and phrases to describe similar things. Like I always think that when Connie would put on some of her like yoga videos and that we would talk about fucking letting your roots go out your feet and into the earth and draw up energy and breathing, all this stuff. It's like you're putting a lot of flowery language around it, but actually there is just like a kind of solid principle, like scientific principle behind, stretching your body in a certain way, breathing in a certain way, stuff like that. So it made me think there's like and I mean, this might not be completely comparable to what I've said there, but the thought that triggered in my mind was more, is there scientific like evidence of meditation sort of like changing someone's brain? Like do you know what I mean? Like some certain experiences, things will like change the way pathways form or structures in the brain. Like has meditation been proven at a scientific level to do something healthy for the brain and not just on a like philosophically sort of like nourishing way, but like in an actual almost physical benefit?
Well, I mean, the short answer is yes. I have a really interesting book called Buddha's Brain, which is just sort of like all the studies that have been done into the neurology of like very advanced meditators and the MRI scans and stuff like that, and like the parts of the brain that activate or aren't activating in or activating as heavily in like long-term meditators. So there is a lot of science to back up the benefits of meditation. Whether that's because there is something special about meditation itself or because it just happens to be doing something that other things might also do. I don't know. So like the neuroplasticity of it all is quite, well, it's super intriguing, and that's just something that I find quite interesting anyway. I remember when we were at uni, we studied a paper about the physical effects on the brain of conscious experiences, which is super interesting. Like various things do change like measurably the physical structure of your brain. And I think probably philosophizing on any level does something similar and will form different neural pathways and stuff like that to change what your sort of outlook is like or is more likely to be at any given point.
And I'm wondering whether like we need meditation as part of like the reformed education system that we've often talked about.
Hypothesize, yeah, I would sort of in the sort of Marxist utopia, which is probably
Marxist,
a dystopia, right? Yeah, good, right? Yeah. Which is probably a dystopia to a lot of people. But there would be like state mandated meditation and also state mandated therapy, because I just think the benefits are so good to everyone. You just kind of need to drag people to it sometimes.
And I suppose my last thought on it would be like, how long is required for meditation? Like, so could it be that like in assembly in the morning, rather than like pledging a fucking allegiance to a flag or whatever, there's like 15 minutes of everyone sits in the hall cross-legged and just sort of has 15 minutes of quiet reflection, or is that not enough? Or
Well, the science, or the most recent thing that has come out, I can't remember when the study was done, but 10 minutes a day for 30 days will have measurable
is that it? 10 minutes?
physical changes on the structure of your brain.
Yeah.
Obviously, the more you do, the more pronounced the changes will be. But yeah, 10 minutes a day is kind of all you need to notice a difference. Which is, I mean, it would be interesting to chuck a load of people into an MRI and see what pledging allegiance every day does to the physical structure. Because A, will definitely do something, and B, the physical changes in the allegiance brains will probably be such that it would be fair to apply the term brain rot to it in a very sort of physical, decaying way. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, but Mark, don't forget, science is gay, and
it's gay. I woke and gay, isn't it?
And so is anyone that like wants to use it or thing, unless it's like in the affirmative of what the people calling it gay want to hear, and then in which case, obviously, like all things, it becomes fine. So
yeah, if you go fucking full phrenologist and start measuring people's skulls, then they'll consider that science, because you can be racist with it. But actual science is not for the bigoted.
No,
I mean, look at the whole gender debate. Like, we've gone so fucking far into the research of sex and gender and like various physical presentations of various different things, and people are still like, nope, there's two, and they are, you know, sex and gender are definitely the same thing, and there's only two, and that's science for reasons. Question mark.
Is that like, to me, that's like it's more, or is that or in some way tied to like a concept I always kind of go on, like I say concepts as like I thought of this thing that no one's thought that no one has thought of, but like when I'm trying to understand people with opposing views to me all the time, you know, similar to what I said to you the other day, I have a message of like, you know, like kind of hate the game but not the player, or don't hate the player, hate the game. Like the concept that we all experience the world through like our own eyes and our own experience. That's not very good English formation of sentences to explain it, but like, and it's very hard for us to go beyond that. So if you do have that opinion of like, well, there is only two genders because I feel like a man and my wife is a wife and she is like a very woman. You know what I mean? Like I just, it's very hard. And I don't know what switches someone from one track to the other, because like you say, it's just, you know, we've fucking studied it. It's not, these things haven't just come out of nowhere. It's been going on for a long time. We've been sort of studying things for a long time. It's like but like, you know, I know like people think that gender studies or trans people, whatever, didn't exist before 2016 when they became like an appropriate, like a like fucking
necessary punching bag.
Yeah, and like Gimli saying like, oh, they think that dwarves just spring out of the ground, like trans people just fucking bloomed on a tree or something, and then, which is a beautiful like thought and an analogy, like metaphor for transness. I think, you know, like you flowered like a blossom, and then you know that's how you came into being. Like I feel like I've taken myself on a different philosophical track here. I've tangented as is my brain's want, but it felt like a worthy thing to do. But yeah, the idea that when you realise that your truth and that you want to change gender or how you represent yourself, how you identify, the concept that you blossom and you flower and you become the beautiful thing that you always wanted to be.
Process of becoming.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah.
But yeah, I do this is the fucking problem. I know we make light of leftist infighting, but this is the like, how do you prime people to be receptive to ideas?
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Well,
maybe
it goes back full circle to what we were saying about the Gary thing. Like, don't be a dickhead. Like, we can't. I mean, but then I always caveat that with like, was it our friend Lowry was put that thing in the other chat the other day, and it was like, like Mark Maron saying that like the left has kind of like annoyed people into being left wing or into being right wing. Sorry, and it's like, yeah, but it's like it's how I feel like when I hear certain people talking about, but we must give men more. Sort of like, we must be very gentle with men and the male loneliness, and they're talking about all these people who are being sucked into like horrible misogynistic right-wing pipelines, and it's like, yes, we do, but at the same time, it's like, but they are the ones with the power, and it's like, how much should we fucking pander to this group with power before we just say like, no more, fuck off, like you're just. It's like I've heard Josh Strife-Hayes talking before about like young men and the problems they face, and it's like, I get that, but like, some of them are being real cunts about shit. Like, should we just fucking softly everyone? It's like, at some point, is there not a bit of like, you need to be told how to fucking act like a real man, how to like be respectful, how to sort of show strength in the right ways? Like, should we just whilst we knew to be, I think because. And I think this is another thing, actually. It's like going into this idea of like, I can't remember who I was talking to about this before. Maybe it was in that same chat, but like the idea that the online space is being used as a barometer for like how actual real people feel. Whereas actually, it's just, what we should really think of is we should think of everyone that, even just normal people that are commenting online on Twitter or wherever it is, as if they are content creators. Like we would look at Josh Strife-Hayes, or I'm trying to think of other people that we watched, Kaylin Conrad, or whoever it is. There's just two very different ones, but like or the Sad Boys, or whatever. Your online persona is a few notches above and slightly performative than your actual real, like, if I'm just talking to you now. And so it's the same thing there. Like, it's kind of like everything online has a little bit of, we should always dial it back a few notches because it's a bit performative and it's a bit dramatic.
It's a bit much, yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit much. It's a bit dramatic. And because it's a bit dramatic, it's like, I guess there's a couple of things, because everyone comes at everything very strongly and opinionated, whereas maybe like, if these things weren't happening through the medium of like online discourse, they might be a bit more like not delivered with the same kind of like venom or anger. So when like someone like Josh Strife-Hayes sees people being very kind of angry at young men who are being a bit prickish, but like, they probably need a bit of understanding and sort of a soft hand to sort of like, give them a bit of, I don't know, like compassion or whatever. But at the same time, it's like, so you understand that because obviously, people are quick to become very angry online. But at the same time, like, you have to surely understand even though everything you say online is kind of a bit ramped up and performative anyway, but you understand why. If these people are going around and saying quite horrible things or expressing horrible views, and especially in the case of like where say Graham Linehan's always going like, oh, the trans activists, they're so mean to me. It's like, yeah, because you fucking think about what you're saying. Like, you know, like after a while,
Yeah, are you surprised that they find you a little distasteful?
yeah, and therefore they're gonna act in quite aggressive ways because
Yeah.
like I guess it's that thing of like
Not to mention the fact they're constantly in fight or flight mode because of what
it,
society's doing to them.
exactly. And I think it's a very similar thing to like if we've ever heard like white people in the past talking about black people having a chip on their shoulder because they appear
Yeah,
maybe a bit aggressive, a bit like they've got their back up a bit and they're a bit sort of like, you know, well, why are they not like treating me in total good faith or so? It's like, yeah, because like years and years and years of decades of like
yeah, like
shit coming their
slavery,
way.
inherent
You
trauma
like you said,
to race.
you're taking a flight or fight sort of attitude to things, and so the same thing is true for trans people, and the same thing is true for women on the internet. Like,
Mhm.
so I do struggle with this idea of like, well, where is the balance between showing these people compassion, but like at the same time, someone needs to just be fucking chinned and just told to
Yeah, well,
sit
yeah.
down and shut the fuck up. Like,
I have many strands of thought on this. One is that the performative obnoxiousness that is, as you say, sort of ramped up from who people actually are.
yeah,
As, yeah, like we were just saying, like that does then sort of create new neural pathways, and you eventually become the views that you espouse because you have physically changed your brain in doing so.
yeah,
So that is a bollock to like, yeah. I don't know what you do about that. And then I think my views here are not very sort of blue haired streamer views,
yeah,
to be a little glib, because I do have quite a deep interest in the experience of the white working class male.
yeah,
But the problem here is that if you Google white working class male or any of the media surrounding that, 99% of the time it will be by racists because of
yeah,
the society that we live in. So it's very hard to find good scientific information on the
yeah,
like that, the neural structure of the white working class male and what society creates in that particular subgenre of human. That and there is a middle course to be steered, in my opinion, between compassion and chinning someone, in that
yeah,
you have to, or I try to look at it as, yes, you have to. Some people's views are so grotesque that it is not the the urgency with which those views should be gotten rid of is so high that we don't have the time to spend in
yeah,
compassionate discourse with the people that espouse those views. But I also think if we're going to effect societal change, rather than just change in an individual racist, there is a need to tread carefully and be quite considered in finding the balance between the compassion that is required, but also the willingness to ostracize when it becomes absolutely necessary.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that there are other places where we are quite clear on, like, you know, like I suppose you could say, like, I don't necessarily inherently hate Tory voters, but I hate the people that have climbed the ladder into the party and are actively trying to make policies and enact things that hurt people. But if you're just sort of taken in by it and you're just someone trying to survive in the world, then, like, I don't necessarily blame you. So therefore I draw a line between where it becomes very clear intent to do harm and just being a bit misguided. I suppose the other thing I'd say about what you're saying about the people and again about, like, I think one of the difficult things is trying to explain to a group of disaffected people, i.e. maybe young white men, if we're just going to go all the way to that side of things, why they actually have quite a lot of built-in power and privilege when, of course, at the same time, they don't.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the word, whoever first used privilege in political discourse needs a good slap, because it's...
Yeah, I mean, it should be something like relative privilege, but that's not really going to... It still doesn't really fit as nicely as I'd like it to, but that's what I think the problem is because it's like, yes, these people need our compassion, but at the same time, like, it is white people and men who are
doing the most
damage in society and technically have the most power, even though most of these people and I mean, I guess this is just the sort of the undertones of fascism in general, even though that they don't really have power. They're just kind of, they're almost working as foot soldiers for something else. They're not really the ones in power. They're almost serving someone else's agenda. And I think it probably comes into that thing of, like, that we have a general difficulty on the left, which is any idea that we have takes an incredible amount of time and nuance and thoughtfulness, like this discussion we're having now, to explain it, whereas the opposite side of things can be just neatly zipped up in very small packages and just fire hosed into people's faces. And
you can say no money because immigrants quite easily. You can't explain use value and relative and exchange value and capital versus money and what finance is, in that it isn't money, in, like, and this is something that I've long considered, that the left needs to remember how to do propaganda, because leftist propaganda used to be cool as fuck, like all the old Soviet posters and shit like that, and we've just completely forgotten how to do it. And that, like, you know, propaganda is that, like we were just talking about, how do you prime people to receive a message? That's how you fucking do it.
But I do also think that there's always the other thing about, like, the leftist propaganda is that, again, it seems that any subject we go on to, there is always, like, an issue, because so there's always this kind of, like, dual opposing sides of things. So it's like we need to learn how to be not the dirtbag left, but more dirtbaggish and sort of, like, cool and abrasive and to the point. But at the same time, like, I always worry that the more we kind of concentrate on being like that, the more danger that we kind of start putting certain issues and other people to the side in pursuit of... I don't think in general we'll end up that way, but I suppose, like, a thing would be a little bit like Labour saying, well, what use is it if we don't win? And then in order to win, we have to kind of almost throw away all our morals. And, like, to me, I feel like morals is almost like everything. That's like, everything should start from a place of, like, maintaining our morals and sort of being morally true to ourselves. So I suppose it's not quite the same, but, like, I don't know, like, I think part of the problem always is as well is that because the left does care, we we get we keep getting more and more things and topics and sets of people that we have to spend energy and time trying to defend. And so we're always
And
playing
that was,
defense rather than attacking.
yeah, that was like a key aspect of COINTELPRO. When
Yeah.
the CIA launched that, there was like an internal briefing where they said you've got to infiltrate these groups and get them to spend so much time going over the minutiae of things that they can never organize.
Yeah. Because some people always say, like, I've heard other like leftists that I talk to say things like, we're like a guy that I used to like every now and then, like I'd raid into his stream or he'd raid into me. Great guy, does like play like streams Football Manager. But he was talking once about sort of like more. I was reading the book and it was more about looking at getting back to like class struggles, economics, and like
Yeah.
he wasn't saying we're doing identity politics, but just like that identity politics are coming a bit of like a distraction or something. And then it's like, yeah, but
Yeah.
my view on that is always that because we care, when these people start getting a kick in, no one else is moving to defend them. So we have to kind of move in to try and shield them and try to defend them. And so, like you were just pointing out there we're doing the COINTELPRO stuff. We're having to expend energy fighting on all fronts, and we have to defend these people because
you can't not, can
as
you?
leftists with progressive morals, it's like, well, we're not just going to go, well, we would like to protect you trans people, but unfortunately we've got a class war to fight. Like it's all
Yeah, we are trying to raise class consciousness at the moment.
and I mean that's the other thing that I think that is mistakenly left out of this is that trans rights, black rights, brown rights, whatever, they're all linked to class. Like that's probably something else that they've done is that they've kind of managed to, again, via the minutia, managed to kind of strip that away a little bit. So it's like, it's a lot of the time if we secure workers' rights, then they will work for everyone. Like
yes, exactly. And you will have better access to capital than I'm constantly banging on about this. I am aware, and I have become a little bit of a cliche of myself. But it does all come down to your access to capital. And if you are a trans person or a Muslim woman that wears a hijab, your employment prospects are reduced because of living in a shit can world.
Yeah.
And therefore your access to capital is reduced and therefore your power is reduced. And this is where I can spend so fucking long just thinking about this myself and getting nowhere. Like the politics of, and what am I trying to say here? Yeah, it does all come down to class, but the way you have to navigate being working class differs based on the group that you're in. So the identity politics becomes both unimportant and the most important thing.
Right.
And I guess if there was an easy way to reconcile this, then we would have had a revolution by now anyway. But I can spend so fucking long just spinning around on this one particular point of like, what came first, the class issue or the identity issue? And is the whole thing just a massive fucking Ouroboros that's going to eat itself anyway?
Yeah. I mean,
my initial sort of... Go on, sorry.
No, you go. Carry on.
My gut instinct is that if we were able to secure a glorious workers' utopia, a lot of the prejudice would dissolve anyway, because a lot of the prejudice is born from access or lack of access to capital.
Yeah, and also, Yes, there
But
is
I say
that.
that as a reasonably
But
well-educated white male that isn't
yes, but
currently having to worry about money. So
yeah, but I guess that there has to be, because what I was going to say is that yeah, but it's a tool of the elites to help divide, to continue
yeah,
the class war. But there must be those. There must be some form of divisions there present for them to be able to point to them and amplify them, if you know what I mean.
yeah,
So they are kind of like circular. So I don't know necessarily which. Obviously, I guess maybe you could say that it's like class is always first, but there I guess it depends at what point on the circle you start at, because there's got to
yeah,
be a point where say people come here, Jamaicans in Windrush or whatever it is, or Indians other times, and they would have faced racism and prejudice because they're foreign and new and unknowable, which would probably stop them, like say, affect their chances of getting employed, stuff like that. But then it's used as a way to dig that and to sort of turned to the benefit of the elites who want to create that kind of, because I don't really want to pay you a fair wage, so I'm going to tell you that person's taking yours. So I think it is kind of cyclic. Depends at what point you start on the circle, but they are intrinsically linked because, like, there is. But like you say, if those kind of like disparities were sort of pulled away, then I don't think people would necessarily care as much. I think it's an easy argument to make when they say, "Oh, it's because of immigrants that you don't have that," because on the face of it, it kind of makes sense if you don't think past. I always say this anyway, but like, if you don't think past a certain point, and you just go, "Oh yeah," because of course,
yeah, you see no jobs and immigrants.
that brown person has a job, and I don't have a
So
job.
that's my job. That is.
Yeah, exactly.
That's taken. Yeah.
So he's definitely like sort of class related. I just don't. I don't. I mean, obviously, we are in the UK, and I just generally think that all of these things we spoke about are generally and broadly exacerbated by the British sense of superiority, entitlement. You know what I mean? That we like. I don't know which one of these things we need to get past first. But I also think, like I said, actually in like the video I made about like East London, that perhaps I don't know how we do this. Does it take a Gary Stevenson level style campaign? But we need to reset what people's perceptions and expectations are of what working class means, because even though, like we just said there, you just said about a well-educated white guy who doesn't have to worry about money. I too, maybe less educated, but no less thoughtful, but also don't really have to worry about money. Me and Connie have discussed this a number of times. We can do that thing where we could go to the supermarket and pretty much just buy whatever we want. We don't have to think about stuff like that. We live in privilege. But we are working class because we both fucking work. Like,
if we lose our jobs, we're fucked.
Yes. So I think that, like you were saying earlier, like working class to a lot of people just means I've been down to mines and I've got coal on my face. And that person hasn't really existed
for Northern.
Yeah, that person hasn't really existed for decades. So,
no,
like in that East London video, it's like, and perversely, the people who are fucking plumbers and tradesmen, they're earning more money than like
hand over fist, aren't they?
So the people that are basically working within, like a working within like you can't tell me like a low level admin position in an office. It's probably paying you less than a good paying building position or something like that. Like, so like those people I think that we have this perception of someone wears a tie to work. And don't get me
then they must be middle class.
Don't get me started on the concept of a tie. I feel like there's a fascinating video essay to go into there, because it's like, not only is it like, how the fuck did this happen? Like, did it have a practical application at first? But also, like, like how pathetic it is that so much gravitas has been given to a piece of material that you tie around your neck.
Yeah.
And we could say something very poetic and philosophical, especially coming from our situations where we want to fucking the downfall of the rich and stuff. But like, you go to work for a corporation wearing a fucking noose around your neck.
Yeah, they're not lost on me.
So, you know, like I just think that there needs to be a general realigning of what working class means, because it is a very effective tool for racists and people like Farage and that to invoke the spirit of the working class, and they don't even
Well, it's dog whistle, isn't it?
and they don't even have to say white, because that's what people take it to mean. A white guy, like we said, white guy coming out of mines and sort of, you know, something like, you know, fucking Fred Dibner going up a steeplejack or some shit, like, you know, going up a tower or whatever. I feel like that's one of the sort of problems, but maybe to just, because I feel like we'll wrap up now, but to just sort of like end on a kind of a positive note, has Gary Stevenson shown us the way that you can stay on message and you can start to sort of actually build class consciousness through this new era? I think we became so downcast about the current state of things because the internet is such an effective tool to breed fucking hate and like and bad vibes that, like, actually, you know, because I joke to Connie all the time that I am fully expecting my mum, who sort of like radicalizing herself to the left by the day. I don't know if she really realizes it, but I mean, she's listening to the Midas Touch, which, you know, I know it's me and you would probably listen to that and go like, yeah, these fucking liberals, but like,
not even heard of it.
Oh, it's apparently it's overtaken Joe Rogan as the most popular podcast. So I should really listen to it to just sort of find out what it's about. But I know it's definitely leans left, and it's definitely angry at people like Trump and the right wing and stuff like that. So net positives and all that. But my mum's been listening to it, and she's been saying some things lately that were kind of like shocked me a little bit. Like she was talking about, like, my auntie went back to Florida recently. She lives there now with her cousin, and she actually got hauled into the back room and held for a while and fucking questions. Like, she has the right to be there, and she's like, are you a white British woman in her late 70s?
Yeah.
It's like, why? And she's, you know, anyway. I mean, I assume that she probably just didn't really think too much of it, because she probably just think, well, it doesn't. I'm being impositioned, but nothing's going to happen to me. I'll be fine. Like, I imagine a lot of, like, you know, white people would have that kind of view, whereas other people would be like, this is terrifying. I don't know what's going to happen to me now. But anyway, she got stuff, and my mum was sort of saying, like, you know, she'd been talking to her about like how we view Trump over here and stuff like that. And my mum was talking about her ordeal, and she said, like, I mean, my mum said to me, imagine if that, you know, you were a black person or a person of color or a trans person or gay. And I was like, wow, my mum just casually put trans people in there, and not in a way that we had, because about 5 years before, we had like a bit of an argument because she said something like, oh, I wouldn't want a man coming into the toilet wearing a dress while I'm in there, and which I kind of just, it was a level of like sort of venom that I hadn't heard from her. Like, you know, they're not, they're not like me, they're not really left wing, but they're, you know, they're just sort of centristy, I guess, broadly. Never voted Tory, but, you know, like, never really, even if they exhibited some racist tendencies, but in the more kind of like the soft racist tendencies, the ones like you don't really know that you're exhibiting, and then if someone like me was to pull them up on it, they'll be extraordinarily angry and confused as to what the fuck do you mean. But like, and so I remember being quite angry about that, because I was just like, you know, like, what are you saying? That's like akin to just saying like, oh, well, black people just inherently create more crime or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so she said that before. So she's and I think that she probably followed Joanne on Twitter and was getting some of this from her, but she's obviously changed her mind quite a lot and things like that, because she put that out there freely. And I told Connie, and Connie was a bit shocked. And I was like, and basically we're seeing Gary is getting on Good Morning Britain and stuff like that. He's over the 5 years, because I've been watching him since like pretty much the beginning of his channel, me and Connie. And so I remember trying to show my dad him, because I thought, like, you know, maybe he'll respond to this, because it's like it's a good message delivered by someone that came from a genuine poor working class background, not too far from where we came from, where he was born, really. Like, he wasn't born in Ilford, but he was born down the road in Hainault, which is, I think, like, some parts in Hainault, especially where my nan lived, like, Ilford is part of the actual postal address. So, you know, and my dad was just like a bit, I think he didn't like him because he swore a few times. He sounded a bit like a grime MC. Like, my dad just kept saying, well, why is he doing this? What's he doing this for? And I was like, I don't know. Like, what am I supposed to say to you? But I am waiting now, because Gary's managed to get himself. So this is the whole point of this conversation, is basically talking about Gary's message getting through and him gaining more and more traction, because, you know, he's on fucking Good Morning Britain. He's on Paloma Faith's fucking podcast. He's on The Rest is Politics talking to the fucking Rory Stewart, who, but despite myself, there is a little part of him that I quite like, but I also understand that he is unfortunately a bastard at the same time. But like, he's on these places. So I am expecting the next thing is my mum's going to go, have you heard of this Gary Stevenson? I'm going to go, yes, mum. Fucking 6 years ago, I showed you his videos and like, you didn't want to know, but I'm glad you're here with me now. So,
yes. Yeah, the important part is that you have arrived.
So what I think I'm saying is that should we be taking hope and a bit of sort of like encouragement from the fact that the tools that seemed so hopeful at the beginning, that then turned particularly dark in these like last decade or so, where it's just gone down until we just end up with like Musk's Twitter, but there still is this shining ray of like, which I kind of have always believed, like, you know, look at people organising in like South Asia, or was it South Asia, or like wherever you know, they've used Facebook or things as a tool to like, or Twitter to like organise themselves to revolt against things. Like, obviously we knew as a communication tool, these social media platforms can be quite powerful. You know, they certainly make things easier to communicate and organise than it would have been back in the day when, you know, far left groups of the past trying to, you know, fucking share messages across the terraces in like in the fucking Barcelona stadium or whatever, just speaking in Catalan so that Franco, you know, there are easier ways and a proven sort of example of actually someone building a message of class consciousness on the internet today, in this day and age. So I guess viva la Gary, viva la Gaza.
Garistas.
Yeah, and so maybe I should finish the rest of his book. I still haven't done yet, but yeah, I think that feels like a nice place to end it. Without Ben's pure heart to guide us, we naturally went straight to the sort of like, well, we tried our best to go through like the philosophy of the mind and meditation and all the rest of it, but we ended up on class consciousness and
bemoaning,
exactly, and more left-wing things, which obviously Ben would be totally into as well, of course, and have many things to say. But yeah, I think that in absentia, Ben will be proud. But yeah, it's always nice to finish on a positive note.
Yeah, let's get some class consciousness.
But yeah, I'm going to go away and have a nice little cup of class consciousness and then finish off my Sunday. So I guess goodbye to you, goodbye to everyone else.
Yeah, bye.
Bye-bye.